Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. In today's video is going to be looking at patch 10.2 PTR Warlock Tier Sets. Now, for those that don't know, patch 10.2 hit PTR yesterday, and with it being the first day of PTR, tier sets were spoiled, and they're also available for purchase on a vendor, which is exceptionally early for them to be on PTR. I have a hunch PTR started ready for a few weeks now, but either way, they're out. So tonight's video is going to be looking at the tier bonuses, talking about them a little bit, and looking at them in combat. Now, this is not going to be a video looking at every specs DPS. We've done it a little bit on stream. That video will be out likely tomorrow, comparing Desher, Demo, and Aff. It's going to be an interesting one. Spoilers ahead, check back for it. But either way, that'll be tomorrow. Tonight, I was looking at tier sets, talking about where they're good, where they're bad, where they can be changed, and just all of that. Now, a couple things we get too far in the video. Like always, week wars, add-ons, links to Twitch and Discord down below are for free for you guys. And things appear. I have links to TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, and all that. The 10.2 Warlock PTR spreadsheet will indeed be going up on Patreon probably within a couple weeks. If you're interested in that, the tier 3 Felgar rank or higher gets early access to that. PTR is further along than I thought it would be, so that should be rolling out relatively soon. At the same time, we are creating content on TikTok basically every day to every other day. If you want to support there or follow it, it would mean the world to me. We're trying to hit 1,000 followers on there, and just in general, if you want, links to all that up here. And yeah, let's get on into it, starting off with probably the best tier set, Affliction. Okay, so getting into Affliction, like I said, so we talked about it a little bit last night, but didn't really look at it in combat and things. Affliction's tier bonus to 2-piece gives Soul Rot a 15% damage increase, and it lasts 4 additional seconds, being, well, 12 seconds total now. Now, the 4-piece says Soul Rot causes your next 3 Malefic Raptures within 12 seconds to deal 50% increased damage and extend the duration of your Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, Unstable Affliction, Haunt, Vile Taint, and Singularity by 2 seconds. I also didn't realize it extended Haunt here. Probably still cast Haunt and CD for the most part, but either way, Haunt's also a part of this. It's interesting. So it's only the next 3 Raptures, not every Rapture, the next 3, but those 3 extend your dots, and they also have a 50% damage increase. Now, I really want them to add Seed of Corruption to this, because having Seed be able to extend dot duration Mythic Plus, Agonies, Corruptions, even like a Siphon Life or whatever else you have out, Vile Taints and all that would be really, really strong. It is helpful. It would feel good. You feel like a Shadow Priest when you don't have to redot things a million times. Plus, you're losing our 2-piece from the 10-1, which makes Vile Taints cooldown even longer. So that'd be a huge quality life increase. We'd like to see that a whole lot. But so that opens up a couple builds here for Affliction. Now, the builds I have been looking at, this is one of them, probably the best build so far. There's a few of them, though. We're going to test this out tomorrow and look at some more damage and stuff. But so this build is playing Dread Touch, all that, Crescendo, Appoint and Haunt, Baseline Dark Lair, Soul Rot, because it is one of those, you know, play this talent kind of bonuses, and 2 points in Soul Eater's Gluttony while playing Vile Taint. Now, Singularity and Vile Taint are pretty close. In current retail sims, PS pulls ahead if you don't lose a Dark Lair cast. I've also played a build that looks like this, with 1 point in Gluttony, 1 point in Visionary, and we're playing PS. Now, 1 point here with PS gives you nearly a perfect sync on PS and Soul Rot, I'm sorry. If you put 2 points in here and pull this last point, it gives you about a 35-ish second Soul Rot, so you're holding Vile Taint for like 5-ish seconds. Not the end of the world. It doesn't mean your Dark Lair ends up being like a 2:15 cooldown. 2:10, 2:15 comparatively to like just 2 minutes pretty much with a good sync. Well, I guess a bit less. But either way, it pushes Dark Lair back a little bit with both. But regardless, the sync feels a little bit better playing Singularity. However, I found a bit more success playing with the Vile Taint double Soul Eater's Gluttony build. So we're going to start here. Now, just a brief opener. It's the same as usual, honestly, but we're going to hit this mob here. So we're going to go in. I'll stack my pets. I am playing a full 5-piece. I'm playing a new Trinket and Sporos and Otheris. No big deal for everything. For the most part, everything's the same. So we're going to end up going in, casting our Haunt, our Unstable Affliction, Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life. You can watch the durations up here. We're going to drain Shadow's Embrace. Then we're going to go Vile Taint, Soul Rot, Trinket, Dark Lair, pop it, and watch all the dots extend here and here. 1, 2, and 3. Now, if you notice, my Haunt is at 7 seconds here still. My Weak Aura is broken, showing Haunt as actually still being, or not extending, but the actual Haunt itself is being extended here, and it gives you a very long time to keep casting Raptures in your opener, whether you're getting Crescendo procs or whatever. I mean, Vile Taint's still up. Soul Rot, like, just fell, and I have Soul Rot in 15 seconds again, a bit less than that, honestly, and I have Vile Taint coming up in 5 seconds here, which, so, your dots roll for a very long time. Now, the next set of dots here, though, when I cast Vile Taint in a second, you're not going to have Dark Lair extension for this. So you're going to go into this with a Soul Rot, you're going to Rapture, 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 3 extensions again, and that's basically the gist of what Asp's bonus looks like with the double gluttony Battle Taint build, giving you these rapture windows basically every 30-ish seconds. If you're playing PS, you've got it basically once every 45. You'll cast, PS on cooldown, basically at like, 0, 45, 130, and 215-ish, which lines up Soul Rot. Both are similar damage profiles. And, well, that's sort of where it's at. Now, I have heard there is a bug currently with Absolute Corruption. I don't actually know. I'm going to test it out right now and find out. With the tier bonus. I believe it's the same one that we actually had in Sepulchre, the first ones, where you had your dots extending by Rapture, I believe. If you put up a Corruption and then start Rapturing with Soul Rot up, I believe it overrides the Absolute Corruption and starts giving you a short duration Corruption. We're going to find out here. Just put up 2 dots, don't need the drain, no big deal. We're just going to Vile Taint, we're going to Soul Rot and start Rapturing. There's the Corruption. Rapture. Yeah, 2 Raptures does indeed remove the Absolute Corruption. So it looks to be the same bug we had in Sepulchre. That'll be fixed at some point, but I mean, either way, AC should be permanent, and there are a couple council fights this tier coming up, at least one. So AC could maybe see some play there, depending where tuning goes, because triple Siphon Life balancing is a bit of a pain, but at the same time, having a bonus like this does sort of feed into a bit more, I guess, juggling potential when it comes to triple Siphon Life. But at the same time, Siphon Life, well, we'll see where it goes. Now, a couple other builds I played here with this bonus. We are looking... I've tried to play a build that looks like this with Haunted Soul. I mean, you're playing Soul Rot, obviously. And, I mean, likely, without your class rank and things, Malevolent Visionary is indeed a bit devalued. But the build you're playing, for the most part, like, looks to probably just be, like, a point, like, 1 or 2 points in Gluttony, a point in Dark Lair, if you're playing Vile Taint. If you're playing Singularity, probably putting a point here just in Malevolent Visionary. But there's not really a great way to get Haunted Soul and Soul Rot, because you want 8 per Haunted Soul. Crescendo is too good. You want this, even over Dark Lair. And then just baseline Soul Rot. And with this build, you're going to play Vile Taint likely for just a half-minute cooldown, so it sinks every minute. But not playing Dark Lair feels terrible. This is how it was in the end of 10.0 when you just played dots, right? I tested this build out. Might look at it a little bit tomorrow. I played it with Siphon Life, obviously. It actually felt surprisingly okay damage-wise. And I think a lot of that's because you're playing Haunted Soul. You've got a long duration on Soul Rot and Vile Taint every half a minute to a minute. And if you want to play PS for whatever reason, it's sort of similar. I think the Dark Lair builds, like we looked at, like this one here, was a little better. With Vile Taint, or one here with Soul, or with PS. But either way, that feels pretty good. The bonus is like not incredibly like exciting, but it helps with just multi-dotting, with maintaining dots. And if they add a clause to Seed of Corruption, or add Seed to this tier bonus, you'll be able to extend all your agonies, corruptions, Vile Taint duration, whatever you're doing Mythic Plus by 2, 4, and 6 seconds whenever you cast Seed. I think it needs to be added, and I don't think it would be that strong, like 2 OP or anything. AF's already good at burst AoE. It wouldn't catapult it to being like utterly insane, but having that dot duration extension, especially to Agony and Plus, we can feel it now with like a 26-second Vile Taint, whatever it is on retail with 10.1. You're so close to being able to refresh your agonies before they fall with Vile Taint. It still wouldn't do it if you added Seed to this. You'd need like 1 or 2 more seconds to maintain them all with each Vile Taint, but nonetheless, packs live a bit longer, but not long enough to double Vile Taint. It still probably will give you just enough, a bit more gas, I guess, to get across the finish line. So, big thing here, this bonus, probably like a B plus in rating, Mythic Plus, probably like a C, just C plus doesn't really do a whole lot. If they add Seed to it, this would be a very solid bonus, I think, for Affliction Warlock heading into patch 10.2. So, getting into Destruction Warlock, this bonus is a pretty interesting one. It is based around Dimensional Rift. Like what we had with Affliction and Soul Rot, you are forced to play Dimensional Rift if you like a tier bonus for Destruction. Now, the cool thing, most everybody enjoys Dimensional Rift. The unfortunate thing is that Chaos Incarnate is better than Rift by a few thousand DPS right now in retail, for me at least, like 2.5k. And number 2, this node here is hard to get in certain Destro builds. And this is the single target, likely best single target, or one of them, build, maybe in 10.2. We'll see what happens. We're not playing CDF anymore. Simmed it earlier, it's not worth it. Soulfire is the best, followed by Conflagration of Chaos builds. Either way, you're playing Rift over Incarnate because of your tier bonus. Now, the 2-piece says, baseline, Immolate damage increased by 20%. Immolate periodic damage, the chance to grant a charge of Dimensional Rift. The good news, these rifts, like this 2-piece procs often. I would say, honestly, sometimes you get bad luck, probably like 3 to 4 procs per minute on rifts. It's pretty strong. You cast a lot of Dimensional Rifts. It feels good to hit Rift, and whenever you cast a Rift, you get 0.3 soul shards. The 4-piece, Dimensional Rift can now summon a powerful Flame Rift, which fires 20 searing bolts that deal damage and smaller ones that deal dots. It's basically like a weird Channel Demon Fire Rift, right? It's the big red one that we had in Legion. I don't know if I can proc it here or not. There's 1, 2, 3. I did. This is it, the fire one in the back. So this is the big Flame Rift. It's throwing the things in. Pretty cool. You can see, though, the damage, not incredibly impressive on 3 rifts. You're hitting 45k or whatever. Number 1, I think that rifts need to be buffed a bit damage-wise. The Flame Rift appears to be like the lowest damage one. It might be that way because it hasn't been tuned. Maybe it wasn't added to like the 3 rifts that were buffed in the last patch. But they need to buff the damage of the Flame one from the 4-piece, and possibly, likely just buff all the Flame Rifts on their own. I've seen on average their damage over like single target testing being anywhere from like 12% in the high end, combining all 4 to like 8 or 7, sometimes even like 9% on the low end, which is not horrendous, but at the same time, they do damage baseline even without the tier bonus, and tier bonuses typically end up being like, I don't know, like 10-ish% of your damage overall. With the rifts being 12, they probably need a bit of a buff. So we'll see where that goes. The immolate damage is nice for the most part. It's just sort of set it and forget it. People have brought up that Mythic Plus, if you're looking to play, they brought up the immolate damage, right? And they mentioned that, oh, it's possible to play Cataclysm over Inferno, because you can apply multiple immolates whenever you cata, compared to putting up 2 or 3 manually and then spamming Rain of Fire. I don't think that's incredibly likely. Kata is an awesome spell. I love it. I wish it was baseline. It didn't happen. But I think that Inferno, the shard gen that it brings, the extra Rain of Fire damage that it brings, is still just too strong in those heavier settings to sort of say that we're not going to play this anymore. They did indeed nerf Rain of Fire damage, essentially by making Madness Chaosbringer and not adding a 15% buff to Rain of Fire like they did to Chaos Bolt baseline. So that's going to be interesting if they change that or not. But overall, this bonus feels fine. We'll open up here. We are playing... I was playing a Soulfire build. It's fine. I'll play it. I hate Soulfire, but I was playing Conflagration too. The cool thing is, like, this is not a raw damage testing video here, but I'll show you, like, if we get good RNG, your rifts, they refund quite often in combat. I had a sequence or two where I had literally 3 rifts refund back to back to back from immolate ticks. There's no ICD on the immolate potential refresh, like, thing from the 2-piece. You can get a lot of procs back to back to back. So, let's go into this. I'm playing Soulfire. I hate Soulfire, but it's okay. We're going to precast Soulfire to kickstart our damage. We're going to go Conflict Rate, put my Infernal down. Going to pop a Rift, hit my Trinket, my Berserking, and start casting some Chaos Bolts. I'll pop another Rift. Why not? My Rifts are here and here. Here. So you can watch it if I get any refunds at all. It'll just show like a charge come back, right? So hopefully we can proc a couple of them while we're in combat here. I'm going to cap on shards because I wasn't paying attention, but that's okay. Not looking at damage here. Now that I'm testing this, actually, you're going to see probably doesn't refund very many shards or very many rifts because, you know, I'm filming. But I've had multiple sequences where I've gotten like 1 or 2 or even 3 refunds back to back to back. I think the average is likely, like, honestly, probably somewhere around 3 RPPM, which is like 3 extra rifts per minute. And each rift, once again, also gets you 0.3 soul shards. Might not seem like a lot, but when you're in plus trying to bridge that gap of like shard generation or just, you know, want to cast a spell like... for a bit more shards when you're trying to Rain of Fire spam, all that. Rift could be it. There's 1 refund right there, I believe. We have 2 rifts open right now. And like I said, I've seen multiple rifts back to back to back be refunded. I'm getting bad RNG here. There's 1 there as well. So that's roughly 2 per minute there. Average is probably 3. But the cool thing is that it feels good to hit Rift. I think this is similar to Affliction, where there's another Rift right there as well. So we've gotten 3 refunds so far over a minute. I think it's similar to Affliction as well, where it's going to feel good in raiding. My immolate fell too, so we're not like doing this anymore. But it's going to feel good in raiding when you get the procs. If there's like planned movement coming in a few seconds, you can hold a stack of it maybe if you get a refund and pop it on the move. But once again, when it comes to M+, there's probably not a whole lot you can really do with it unless you take a point, let's say, for example, out of like something like this, right? Your option is basically to either pull Avatar Destruction or pull Grand Warlock's Design and go into this node here, because you want Madness or Chaosbringer for the most part. Even if you don't want it, you have to go through this or this to get this node. You want your Inferno with Grand Warlocks, and you typically want Ritual plus Avatar, right? So the most likely option is probably just to pull Avatar and go, I think I'm in combat, like pull this and just go like into Dimensional Rift, like this. There's also a chance that you play a build like this that I've seen popping up more lately, where you just go full Infernal, Crashing Chaos. You pull all these talents here except for Ritual, and you go Rift plus Embers plus Power Overwhelming, right? This gives you a 2-minute Infernal, but you don't really get any purple ones. So you're missing the shard gen, a bit of damage, and the stuns. Or you could also just go like this, not play Crashing or Grand Warlocks, and go back to just straight up 10.0 build and go like this, if I can do it right, there we go, and have 3-minute Infernal, but get, you know, Diabolic Embers, Chaos Bringer, Power or Rift, and full purple Infernal. So unfortunately, if you want to play the 2-minute build with full Crashing and Grand Warlocks and full Ritual, all that stuff, you got the Pulpy Ritual to get this, but hopefully they buff things at some point or just make it relevant and plus somehow. I don't think it's like overhaul. I don't think an overhaul is required. I think Destro's Profile and Plus is probably pretty strong regardless with, you know, Inferno and all that, but it does feel odd that it doesn't really have a whole lot of, you know, AoE implications. The Fire Portal might cleave a little bit, but the damage is just way too low. Needs to be buffed, and yeah. So if they're concerned about having Mythic Plus relevancy, something needs to change. If they're not, or they're okay with it, then either way, I mean, it's fun to play. It needs damage buffs in general, but overall, it's still pretty fun ability. And hey, you know, when you chain a proc back to back to back and have 6 portals ripping, it's pretty fun. And finally, we have the Demonology Tier set. Now, I'm actually rubbing my nose so I have an itch, but it looks like, you know, Demonology. I will say right now, we tested Demonology on stream today damage-wise. Demonology is ludicrously undertuned right now. You're doing like 10.0 damage in like blues. Like, I was behind Desh and Aff by 50k. I'm behind 100 by 70k. Demo is just not... Demo's not functional right now in the first build of PTR, but it's PTR for a reason. It'll be tweaked and tuned. We'll make a video on Demonology probably next week, depending if things change and whatever else happens. I'm waiting to see what happens and whenever the PTR build comes out. But for now, the tier bonus. So it's actually a pretty interesting one. So Demon Bolt now applies Doom Brand that explodes after 20 seconds. So you don't have, number one here, you don't have to play Doom. Doom Brand and Doom are two different things. Dealing shadow damage to nearby enemies. Demon Bolt and Hand of Gul'dan reduce the duration of the primary target's Doom Brand by 1 second. Now, off the bat here, you want a shorter cooldown. Because a shorter cooldown means it pops quicker and you can get another Doom Brand back up faster, right? The 4-piece says Hand of Gul'dan, damage increased by a certain amount. Nobody cares, it's fine, whatever, cool. When Doom Brand explodes, you have a chance to summon a Doom Guard that blasts your target for, or Doom Fiend, it's a Doom Guard, that blasts your target for shadow damage, right? Number one, I wouldn't mind this being a shorter duration, like 8 seconds, and it does damage every 1 second, because like if you're in plus number one, when this thing procs, like 15 seconds is a long time to get out full damage. If things are dying or the thing's expiring at some point, you might lose some value there. Maybe like trim it to like 10 seconds and increase the cast chance to like 2 seconds. You cast every 2 seconds and it lasts 10 seconds either way. Should be the same ratio of 5 casts, but either way, there's that. Now, number one, this set is incredibly undertuned. It does like no damage at all. The 2-piece does like 0.8% of your damage in a single target. It is very, 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 very subpar. The 4-piece has an abysmal proc rate. It is like 1 in 20 or something. I rarely ever see a Doom Guard spawn. When it does like 180k damage. It's not bad, but so they need to drastically increase the damage of the 2-piece, and also drastically increase the proc chance of the 4-piece. Now, I think they should add a clause to the 2-piece that says like if it only hits one target or whatever, maybe it applies a dot that does a bunch of damage, or like damage, like have it do like a lot more damage in single target. It probably needs to do like 500% more damage in single target. Probably a lot more in general, but it does no damage at all in single target. Like this 2-piece plus 4-piece combined is like less than 2% of a damage increase. It's not tuned right. Now, there's no real synergies with Demonology here. The Doom Guard doesn't work with Tyrant, none of that kind of stuff. No damage amps, but I mean, I think like thematically, it's sort of cool. It feels like what Demonology is. I think a lot of gripes with Demo right now is that they've just changed a million talents and broke synergies and things, and that is a fair gripe. As long as the bonus is like tuned and it does good damage, it's like fine. We're also coming out of a tier in 10.1 where we have the best tier bonus in the history of this game for Demo. It is incredibly insane. And if they don't nerf that, you're probably playing it in 10.2 either way, but they'll probably nerf it. So either way, very briefly looking at it in single target, we're just going to open up here. I'm playing this build. It looks to be the best build for me right now. We'll look at that more tomorrow as well. All Demo does is very bad damage. Every build's horrendous. But it'll be buffed a bunch. It's going to get some insane buffs probably very soon. Grand Warlock's design, Immutable Hatred, Portal's dead. They destroy the synergies, is dead. So we're going to just open up here. Probably not get like a whole lot of damage coming in, but we're going to look at what Doom Brand does. We're going to open up here. I have the wrong pet out. I think we can change that. Pull this thing out. We're going to go Grimoire, Vile Fiend, get our dogs rolling here. Dogs. Just cast a bit like a little Tyrant here. Doesn't really matter. I'm not like concerned about like the damage output or anything. Gonna Tyrant and just start pumping some shards in. So here is the Doom brand right here. You can see 8 seconds left, 7-6 casts his hand, it goes to 4. And when this thing pops, or expires basically now with this Demon Bolt, there's a chance to spawn a Doom Guard. It is a very low chance. It's unlikely it's gonna happen in this video. I don't see them very often at all. When it does, it casts like 5 Doom Bolts. Does okay damage, it's pretty cool. Now, like I said, we'll look at it in second tier damage wise, see if this thing pops in time or not. The damage Doom brand does when it pops is abysmal. It needs an incredible buff, no Doom Guard. It is doing 0.9% of my damage, and that is about what it does in general across any test, whether it's a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. It is incredibly low. Umbral Blaze is doing twice the damage. My Tyrant is abysmal as well, but like it does no damage at all. Now, the cool thing is that this does work in AoE. So, let's say for example, I'm doing Mythic Plus or whatever. We have a pack of like 5 mobs. Or pulling it. I have some Demon Bolt procs, right? I can go, you know, say my shards aren't relevant here. Let me try and get some more procs here. Say I have like I'm gonna overcap on shards, but it's no big deal, right? Try and get some more procs here. The nerfs to Demonic Core Generation also hurt. You can definitely feel it now. It's a bit unfortunate, but let's say we have multiple mobs, right? So cool. I need to cast some bolts. So I can go watch for the debuffs. I can go bolt, bolt, maybe a hand or whatever, bolt, and bolt again. I can roll 4 Doom brands. Now, the unfortunate thing is that when I hand the Ghoul in here, watch the duration on these. It only takes duration off this one, right? It's cleaving all these, but only this one's being hit by the hand of Gul'dan duration reduction. So that is like a huge, I think, a huge flaw at the bonus. I think it's cool in a sense, but like it needs, like, if you want this to work in AoE, like it needs to have hand of Gul'dan splash damage, reduce duration of all of them, whatever it cleaves. Like, because like there is no chance in plus when I'm juggling, when I'm trying to like kick and sap and stun and sheep and fear and CC and implode and cast tyrants and dogs, I'm gonna be weaving 4 demon bolts and trying to go, all right, hand here, bolt here, hand here, reduce this, refresh this. It's like 10 times worse than AF multi-dotting with Siphon Life. So like that needs to either change if I have hand and Gul'dan splash damage, just reduce the duration, or they could just straight up say, hey, maybe instead of Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan applies the effect. So if you just cast it on a pack of mobs, it applies it to all of them. Now that might be a little OP. Maybe they have to like square root the damage depending how many mobs it hits, but that'd be cool. I like the actual like design idea behind it a bit. It doesn't really like mesh with Demonology like synergy wise, but I think it actually is pretty cool. But like trying to juggle it in plus with Demon Bolts and Hand of Gul'dan cast on one mob is going to be a literal nightmare. Probably to the point where you just ignore it. Now, the other cool thing is that I can't show it here, but they've done a good job with making it smart. So let's say, for example, if I'm in plus and I have like multiple Doom brands rolling, and let's say this mob here, I'm going to hardcast a bolt. Let's say this mob is going to die in like 5 seconds, but this is rolling. Whatever duration it has on it, if the mob dies, the Doom brand does pop and it will hit the other mobs around it. So they did a very good job there. It's like smart, and it can indeed summon a Doom Guard. I've summoned 2 Doom Guards at once actually when the star is aligned. So that does work. That is cool. It's like a weird like purple visual effect when it pops, like you saw right there. So there's promise to it. It's not synergistic really. It's sort of just like a demo kind of like proc thing. They wanted to work like Doom into it. It's basically like Doom in a sense. It's sort of like a Hand of Doom meets like Demon Bolt Doom applications. Does that make sense? I like it honestly, but like it's thematic, it's flavorful. It needs tremendous buffs to its damage. Probably add a single target clause to it, and also buffs to AoE damage. Just buff the damage a crazy amount with a 2-piece, and the 4-piece needs to have like big buffs to the Doom Guard. Make it like a 1 in 3 chance or something, because it just never spawns. I don't see it. It's rarer than my mother. I haven't seen her in years. I think I don't see it at all. Anyways, but yeah, I never see it. So if we fix those thematically, it makes sense. I think people's biggest gripes are just the fact that Demo's gotten gutted with like synergies and talents and all that. But we'll talk about that more maybe tomorrow and like later on this weekend. But keep in mind that if like Demonology might feel clunky, like there's no portal, like Pit Lord was gutted, portal was destroyed, extensions don't work anymore, you're capped on imps, Ram of Tyranny was obliterated and stuff, but like in the end, they can still just come in and buff all these abilities. And if like Demo could still be the best spec in the raid, it won't feel as synergistic, it'll still feel it'll feel clunkier, but it still can get tremendous buffs. It's gonna get tremendous buffs. The question is, where's it going to land? So if you put that aside and look at the tier bonus for what it is, I think it's sort of cool. It's a mix of like Hand of Doom, all that kind of stuff without having to actually take Doom. Because let's be honest, like People are probably okay-ish playing Soul Rot, probably alright with playing Dimensional Rift, but if they said Doom is your tier bonus, people would be up in arms. So we'll see where it goes, but Demo, it's a wait-and-see kind of game at this point. So thanks for watching, guys. That wraps it up. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and answered questions you might have had about, I guess, Warlock Tier heading into patch 10.2 PTR. Like I said, Demo Tier needs a lot of work. It is what it is, but I think for the most part, it hasn't really even been implemented. The 4-piece needs a substantial buff to its proc rate. The 2-piece needs some handy cooldown changes for splash damage, as well as just like some huge damage buffs and some single target applicability, probably as well. Affliction feels fine. In rating, it's like a B plus, give or take, like grade-wise. Mythic Plus, it's not really applicable for the most part, unless you're rapturing and like lower target pulls or on bosses. If they add a clause to have Seed of Corruption, also increase duration of the next 3 things, whatever, like dots, whatever, the next 3 seeds you cast, whatever, you know what I mean. That'll be good. It'll make it a little more applicable there. And as far as Destro's concerned, honestly, it's fine. I like hitting Dimensional Rift. It feels fun to hit. I think the bigger gripe right now is that Dimensional Rift's hard to get in like the 2-minute plus build. And if you do take it, Dimensional Rift's not incredibly impactful in plus in the first place. They probably need to also buff the Fire Rift and likely just buff them all in general. The damage does feel a bit low, but the proc chance is high. I get 3 to 4 rifts, I feel like, per minute, minute and a half back for free, which is cool. The shard gen helps. It's a little bit of movement, I guess, help as well. And yeah, I'm relatively happy with it, I guess. We'll see where it goes. 2 needs to come for every spec and all the bonuses as well. So we'll see what the next few weeks hold. But yeah, so like always, links to Week Wars and profiles down below, Twitch and Discord if you want them. Just grab them all down below. Feel free to come by stream, hang out anytime, ask any questions. At the same time, before we end the video, I want to give a huge shout out again to my patrons. Like always, thank you for supporting on Patreon, guys, 9 times. If you look at supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here, as well as down below in the video description. If you want to check me out on TikTok or Instagram or anything, also links up here, and all of that. So we will see. I'm expecting raid testing likely begin next week, looking at how far along PTR appears to be. Typically the first week's like 2 bosses on Heroic, and then all of Heroic, and then Mythic begins. We're gonna have a video coming out later next week on like the raid and how each boss looks. A lot of patchwork, single target profiles in this raid too. So I think it suits Warlock relatively well. Demo's known for being big single target. It's incredibly undertuned right now, so it's gonna be some big buffs coming in for that. But overall, there's a possibility this is a good lock raid. It'll depend on tuning, but overall, I'm relatively happy. So we'll see where it goes. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, hit like and sub buttons below. Helps out a ton. And I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.